afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us. Today, we're going to take a deep dive into digital marketing and marketing automation. And so you'll see on your screen Dom and George. For those that have been on any previous webinars, you will know which one Dom is, which means that the other good-looking gentleman must be George. Digital marketing and marketing automation are essential for all businesses. But many students leave university lacking the practical and technical skills required to move into this field. So by learning the market-leading technologies like HubSpot and Salesforce as an example, as well as data analytics platforms, Google Analytics is a good example, students can make themselves incredibly valuable to any marketing team and set themselves apart from their peers and job opportunities and salary expectations. For those that have been on any of our previous webinars, you'll probably get a flavour that we're coming up with topics that are very popular for jobs of today. So where are businesses demanding skill sets, and we're taking those topics, getting some experts in those fields, and then going very deep into what graduates can be doing to enter into those markets. Today's webinar is proudly supported by Study New South Wales, who are supporting a whole series of employability webinars. In terms of Study New South Wales, it was established by the New South Wales Government in 2014 to improve the quality and experience for international students while studying in New South Wales and recognise their contributions to our communities. Study New South Wales has four main functions. One, developing promotion and research, marketing, promotion and research. Two, development of policy and advocacy to enhance the competitiveness of international education in New South Wales. Three, delivery and evaluation of strategies and programs to improve the experiences of international students in New South Wales. And fourth, identification and generation of international market development opportunities and new technology-enabled models of delivery. In particular with the third pillar, improving the experience for international students, Study New South Wales has been working tirelessly to ensure that international students feel supported during COVID-19 in crisis and empowering students to come out the other side very well prepared to advance their careers. We really appreciate the period of lockdown has been stressful for everyone, particularly international students, when you are away from your families and can often be quite isolated. The period, however, does create a lot of opportunity, provided you are willing to adopt a positive mindset and are willing to make the most out of the situation that we've been dealt. With that in mind, we're going to explore today what you can be doing right now to pursue a career in digital marketing and marketing automation. And we'll explore that there are lots of opportunities in this space. And we're very grateful to have George Glover from Social Garden with us to share with us his exceptional advice as taking on this as a lucrative career path. Just some of the topics we'll cover today will be on what is marketing automation and what are the different areas of it. What does personalization at scale mean and why is it important? Where's the sector moving and what's next for marketing? What are the most valuable skills in marketing and how can you learn them? Why you don't need to be a creative to get into marketing? Why the execution is more important than the strategy, and that goes for everything really, not just marketing. What kind of roles are available to graduates? What does a graduate marketer do day to day? And why you don't need to have majored in in marketing whatsoever to be able to build a career in marketing. So I don't want to talk for too long because I want to get on to the main man, George, but a quick bio on George is that he's a 31-year-old award-winning digital entrepreneur. Originally from Christchurch in New Zealand, you'll sense from his accent that he still has a very Kiwi accent. The Melburnian hasn't got into him enough yet, but we'll keep working on that. He's the CEO and co-founder of Social Garden, an enterprise customer acquisition business operating in higher education to deliver performance-driven digital media advertising and marketing automation. And I know they do a lot of work in property as well. One of the guys I play footy with, Jakey Taylor, works in the property area at Social Garden. And George co-founded the company with two others and has helped, and I think they were two mates from doing some background research. And George, always good to start a business with mates.
Yeah, mate.
And has helped take it from self-funded startup to a team of 50 across 3 offices in 2 countries and achieving not double-digit, but triple-digit growth annually since 2013. Remind to ask you if you've had any blow-ups with your mates, actually, George. That'd be how they've gone down. George is passionate about digital innovation and is also a non-executive director at Urban.Com.au. So he's a serial entrepreneur And urban.com.au is a platform that's progressively improving the quality of urban communities being developed across Australia. More interestingly, George loves skiing. He did grow up in New Zealand, so you sort of need to go to the ski fields once or twice. So he loves skiing, loves going back to New Zealand to ski, not at the minute, unless Jacinta decides to open up the bubble to us. He does a lot of work with igniting change. And George, I hate to admit this, but he's a bandwagon jumper. He's just started following Liverpool.
Mate, I've been following him for a long time. Don't worry about that.
Oh, yeah, right. You're like one of the other people who just started following him 2019. I'm a Liverpool supporter as well. So
my dad's diehard, so I followed by virtue of him.
All right, we'll give that to you then. Firstly, George, how are you? Thanks for joining us. And how's the last couple of months been for you in the COVID situation?
Yeah, look, I'm doing well. Thanks, first of all, thanks for having me, and thanks everyone for taking the time out of their busy days to kind of join us today. And I'm hoping you guys will get something out of it. But reflecting on the couple of months is sort of for us, obviously today is the last day of the financial year, and reflecting this morning kind of in our senior management kind of leadership kind of stand up that we do every day, and feeling very grateful, I suppose, of where we were at. Given what's happened over the past kind of 3 months, I think, when kind of COVID hit and we all kind of were out of the office and moved to kind of working from home, we were sort of expecting it to be Armageddon from a business point of view, but we've been really fortunate in the fact that the business has performed really well. I guess kind of being a performance marketing agency, everything we do is really focused on ROI, super measurable, has meant that, for a lot of our customers, they've kind of cut channels that are harder to track, i.e. non-digital, or kind of digital channels that are harder to track, and kind of doubled down or continued with us or doubled down with us. So no, we've managed to navigate the last few months very well. Obviously, we've still got a pretty long road ahead of us, but feeling pretty good given kind of the circumstances.
Yeah, a lot of students have been disrupted because they come to semester one in early March and everyone's going to campus, and all of a sudden things have changed and they're working from home and they're learning online. But there's a lot of students that probably don't appreciate what businesses have had to have gone through, where I'm sure you're probably similar to Dom and I, where earlier we sat down and we thought, what the hell is going to happen? Like the amount of uncertainty was quite overwhelming, and then you've got to communicate that to your staff, and then all of a sudden you've got a whole workforce that's working remotely. And it feels like that transition happened a year ago now. It feels like so much time has passed. But yeah,
Correct.
For businesses, it's been quite an ordeal. And I know that for students, it's been tough too, having to transition themselves. Just on your career, talk us through it. I love the fact you started a business with some mates. So we meet a lot of international students that want to start a business and they're looking for co-founders, and we do get asked, well, should I start it with a friend? Should I start with someone I don't know? You took a bit of a gamble and you risk friendship to go and start a business.
Yeah.
We all know it's hard. So talk us through how that started and what it's been like.
Yeah. Well, I'm not a massive fan of the whole serial entrepreneur tag because I feel like it gets thrown around pretty willy-nilly. But I was super lucky, I guess, kind of growing up. I was always, I grew up like with my mother, who was extremely hardworking. And, I was kind of working from a very young age. I think my first paper run, I was probably like, 9 years old or something ridiculous like that. And I've had all sorts of jobs kind of growing up. But when I was kind of in high school, I sort of had, I was quite passionate about this idea of being able to kind of work for myself and kind of start something. And I suppose that kind of led me into wanting to kind of get into design. And, I thought, look, if I kind of studied design, I'd be able to kind of design all the collateral and be able to basically create a business kind of using my own hands. So that was kind of my thinking. Honestly, that's how I thought about it when I kind of went in. And obviously I had a passion for it as well. But I suppose whilst I was kind of studying, I had a few businesses doing bits and pieces and doing maintenance, doing painting, that sort of stuff, which was good fun. But kind of coming out of out of studying not long after the Christchurch earthquake happened, which meant, a lot of businesses, no longer had kind of bricks and mortar kind of stores. So it created this challenge for the city where, the whole economy, was just kind of went to a grinding halt. So I'd studied design. I was kind of teaching myself how to code at that point. I kind of had like a base level of a bit of a knowledge. I could put together a website in WordPress, and started getting kind of hard up to do websites. So me and one of the co-founders of Social Garden started a company which was called Primal Screen, after the band Primal Scream, if you know the band. And did that for a while and had a bit of fun kind of doing that, but got bored of living in Christchurch and decided to kind of pack up and move over here. So moved over here, and not with the view that we were going to kind of start another agency and build another business here. And look, I kind of, was really lucky in meeting a guy who was working in a venture capital firm, and then I kind of started doing a bit of freelance work, and that kind of dovetailed into doing quite a bit of stuff again, kind of web development and starting to do a bit of digital marketing stuff. And around the same time, my friend who I'd come over with and another friend were kind of really going really deep on SEO and kind of like content marketing, and they kind of were starting an agency, and I kind of had my web development thing. So we decided to kind of bring the two together, and that was kind of enough. Us combined had enough basically for Mike, one of my co-founders, to be able to leave his day job, and like that was kind of, and then once we started getting up and running, I think it was about maybe 8 weeks later, Andrew was kind of able to leave his day job. So that was sort of how we got into it. Super enthusiastic, very hungry, and particularly Andrew and Michael kind of running home like in their lunch break. They worked in the city, and making cold calls for an hour to businesses to pretty much do their kind of like digital marketing, SEO, kind of social media advertising type stuff. So we started with kind of working with kind of pretty small businesses, and that's sort of how we got started.
Cool. And then, are the three of you still friends now?
We're still very close friends. Andrew, the third co-founder, he no longer works in the businesses, so he kind of he came out of the businesses about 4 years ago, maybe 3.5 years ago. It kind of just got to the point where he wanted to kind of do something different, and we managed to navigate that really well. And he's been super supportive of the business. He's still kind of involved at a board level or shareholder level, but the company's run by myself and Mike, and he was the best man at my wedding last year, and we spend a lot of time together, maybe too much time together. This working from home's probably been good for the two of us to spend some time apart.
Yeah, I was in the office yesterday with Olivia, and I saw Dom, and Dom said, "Oh, Jared, you spend more time with your partner than you do with me now." So,
yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think. Well, mind you, we also got houses. We also live like 2 blocks away from each other as well. So it's kind of, we love it. We absolutely love what we do. So we tend to spend a fair amount of time together. But yes, very much still good friends.
You mentioned you studied design. So is that fashion design? Like, what do you mean by studying design?
So I did a Bachelor of Design majoring in communications. So I mean, like when I started that, I probably didn't even really know what that meant. But I mean, we kind of crossed a whole range of different stuff, and that was like at Christchurch School of Art and Design. Like you couldn't really study design. You could only study fine arts at uni, kind of in Christchurch. So I ended up going to like a TAFE design school in Christchurch and doing my Bachelor of Design there. And we kind of first year we did a bit of everything, fundamentals, and then I went kind of down the advertising path. So kind of, learning how to kind of create advertising content, advertising campaigns, doing kind of branding. Again, what I was kind of talking to before, this kind of idea, I was kind of a little bit obsessed with this idea I wanted to really be the kind of one of the key outcomes for me was being able to kind of, conceptualize and execute kind of a brand identity and my own business. So that was kind of the path that I took kind of in my Bachelor of Design.
And you mentioned that whilst you were studying that, you started doing some self-learning and you taught yourself how to code. Whilst you're studying, why did you feel you need to do more self-learning on top of the study? That seems a bit crazy.
Yeah, so I mean, they kind of had a little bit of web development at the time, and I'm just racking my brain. This is like, what's this, 2011? So like web development was starting to be integrated into the course, but like it wasn't very well integrated. It was like one unit, pretty minimal. And the type of web development wasn't really like web development. It was kind of like using an editor to basically build a layer and then export it to code. So like I became kind of slightly obsessed with this idea that I could, create something with code and kind of visualize my designs like instantly and publish it to the web. I also am like not an amazing speller, so I love the fact that you could just like fix any mistakes you had instantly. And yeah, but look, I just kind of became a bit obsessed with it and felt that, I kind of really thought there was an opportunity there to kind of grow my career. And I thought that kind of web design and development would be really useful skills for me. So yeah, that was kind of why I got into it whilst I was studying.
And it was very much a loaded question, because no one studying right now should be not doing self-learning on the side. And we might dig into this a bit later, but I know, George, when you look to hire people inside your business, one of the first things you look for is, well, what have you been doing on the side? What have you been playing with on the weekend? What have you been experimenting with? What do you do outside of university? That type of curiosity is really important.
Yeah, totally. And like me and Mike, we call it the hidden talent, right? And it's like, we kind of have that as part of our interview process, is we're looking for a hidden talent. And like sometimes it's like a copywriter who can use like Illustrator or like, which is a design program, or sometimes it's, a client service person who's like done acting or like voiceover work, or we kind of like always interested in kind of people's hidden talent. And like they can be usually they're related to what we do, but also sometimes it's like just about kind of diversity and like obscure kind of talent that kind of brings a different way of thinking or kind of just different skills to kind of our businesses. So definitely that's something we talk about actively when we go through the hiring process.
And it's important for students and graduates to understand that, because 20 years ago, people wanted specialists. Now you more want generalists. You want, what George was talking about just then, is what different skill sets can you bring to an organization, and how diverse is your skill sets? And it could be, like, you wouldn't have thought in a marketing role, you're looking for someone that's done acting. But funnily enough, it's those different skill sets that actually enables you to bring more value to an organization. And so for anyone studying now or you're about to graduate, you've really got to think outside the box for the different type of skill sets you can bring to a business, and not just triple down on one speciality.
Yeah, and it's interesting, like the acting example, I use that because our social media marketing manager, she's a comedian, and like quite a well-established, like amazing kind of comedian. And she studied, what did she study? She studied like a science, but she's obviously just super creative. She's kind of found she probably started, I think I know because I'm speaking with her, when she kind of came out of school, she kind of didn't, like most people, kind of didn't really know what she wanted to get into, ended up kind of going down the science pathway and kind of finished that, but ended up kind of doing a double major, I think, in comms or kind of in writing somehow, and kind of integrated that in. But it's very much, I suppose, her kind of comedy pathway that's kind of led her to us, I would say, more so than kind of her university pathway, for sure. So, there's heaps of examples like that we've got in our business where we've got like a software developer who studied accounting. So it's like, there's heaps of examples of that in the business.
It's interesting, George, because in our business too, obviously people who know me, I'm the funny one. And so I think I compliment Jared very well, because he can be a little bit serious every now and again.
Yeah, exactly.
And that is why Dom has never made it as a comedian.
George, I was going to ask a serious question. So I read everywhere that if the last 10 years was all about social and digital, that the next 10 years is about automation. How important is automation for the future in marketing, and what should students be doing to get themselves ready for it?
And I think and what is marketing automation would be a great definition of it too, George.
Yeah, so I mean, like, maybe just kind of starting off with kind of what is marketing automation and kind of the why it's kind of came about. I think, to your point on the kind of last 10 years, it has been kind of about social, but like it's been about data as well. And I think, you know, the amount of kind of data that businesses are kind of harboring and capturing, whether it's kind of data about people and kind of about their purchasing decisions, or whether it's kind of data about user behavior and all the rest of that. So really what marketing automation's about is harnessing that data and being able to deliver a personalized customer experience at scale. So what I mean by that is, if you come and say, take for example, a university, right? So it's like, if you come, you might inquire, or you might even say download a brochure on a university website, which is a pretty kind of top of the funnel activity. It's like downloading a brochure. And when you download that brochure, you'll exchange your contact details for that brochure. And what a marketing automation system will do is then begin to kind of track your behavior on the website. So based on, say, the pages you're visiting, so say you're visiting courses that are in a particular category. So you might be looking at a whole lot of courses around psychology. What a marketing automation tool enables you to do is start to deliver content via email, via social retargeting, even like on the website in real time when you're on the website, that's relevant to you. So that would be about psychology. So it's this whole idea of kind of using data, whether it's data, like infer data through kind of cookies and kind of tracking on your websites, or whether it's explicit and it's kind of what you're telling companies. So that's sort of what marketing automation is. There's obviously a whole range of kind of different automation tools, which we can kind of get into if you like. But yeah, in terms of kind of the future of automation and kind of the future of marketing automation and why I think that's important. Again, I think people have just got the amount of data that people are capturing is a hell of a lot more than there was in the past. The data is structured in a much better way, so it can actually be leveraged and kind of used to actually drive, you know, decisions and kind of drive marketing strategies. And then it's about scale. It's like everyone's kind of looking for, opportunities, obviously, to reduce costs in areas so they can divert costs into other areas. Obviously, right now, you know, we're in an economic crisis, or we're coming into a recession, and it's like, you know, people are looking for ways at how can they kind of scale their marketing, and how can they kind of build a system that's assist you know, customers in their kind of journey. So I think, you know, I think the next decade is going to continue to be about data. I think it's going to be about automation, and then kind of the AI overlay, which is kind of an integration of the two, really, is kind of is data and automation.
You mentioned personalization at scale. So, and I find it's a really interesting statement, right? Where 10 years ago, it was probably quite difficult to do that. But now we all know, I mean, people talk about Alexa and Google listening to us and being able to recommend things to us, that with the data that you can now capture, you really can be personalized, but in an automated way, can you? And I'm sure it's accelerating now every year than it ever has before. But how important now is it in marketing that it does need to be personal, or else you just cannot get through the noise?
Yeah, well, so I think, you know, we talk a lot about this idea of the on-demand economy at Social Garden. And the on-demand economy is really kind of driven by Uber, Airbnb, Domino's, kind of these businesses that have really been able to, that have really scaled off the back of the gig economy. And what those platforms do is they enable kind of consumers to engage with say Uber, for example, to be able to kind of order a ride at the palm of the hand instantly and be able to kind of track that whole journey and kind of track and see the whole thing unfold in your mobile device. So what this has kind of done is it's kind of changed customers or consumers' expectations around customer experience. And it's really meant that consumers, you know, whether they know it or not, have this kind of these elevated expectations of like their experience being personalized. And I think, you know, I spoke to data before. It's like now in 2020, consumers are willing to give you more data than ever before. And it's like everyone kind of talks to like privacy and data privacy, which is super important, right? But like ultimately, it's kind of the price of convenience, right? And it's like, if my experience is if I know that by me giving you more information, you're going to personalize my experience for me, that's something I'm willing to do, you know. And our ability to capture more data and kind of increase the data points on users is kind of increased tremendously over even like the last 3 years in particular, off the back of the on-demand economy. So yeah, mobile, and then kind of these, I guess, trailblazers in the gig economy is really kind of driving this expectation that my experience should be personalized. And you know, consumers will it has a massive impact on loyalty. And you know, and consumers, there's a lot of kind of data. Salesforce have done a bunch of studies around, you know, how personalization impacts kind of retention and also kind of sales conversion as well. So increasingly kind of customer experience is becoming the battlefield, and like, you know, marketing automation is really kind of where you can kind of deliver and execute kind of customer experience at scale.
You mentioned data quite a number of times, and we in our previous webinar we spoke to Pavisha Sharma from EY, who's a data specialist, and we're meeting a lot of students and graduates that now want to get into data. Now, obviously, one component of data is clearly there's a lot of opportunity for people that understand data or can manipulate data and analyze data inside marketing. But digital marketing itself is quite broad. So I wanted to sort of maybe just go down that rabbit hole for a minute. In that, what are all the different types of digital marketing? Obviously, data is one of them, clearly. But what are the other types of digital marketing that students can start thinking about, so they can maybe start exploring a bit more as to which type they might be interested in?
Yeah. So I think like data and analytics is probably kind of one area. I think when I kind of think about digital marketing and like the streams, it's kind of content marketing. I'd say content marketing and SEO, because to me, kind of the two kind of go together. But I mean, like you could kind of argue that you could just do kind of creative content. But you know, at Social Garden, certainly we kind of talk about content and SEO. And for those of you that don't know what SEO is, when I refer to SEO is search engine optimization. So it's basically, you know, strategies around how do you increase your visibility in search engines like Google to increase the traffic to your website. So I think content and SEO is probably one area. Digital advertising as another stream, and I would say social advertising and search advertising is kind of encapsulated inside digital advertising. Then kind of web and software development is probably another stream. So web and software development, whether it's kind of web development or software development, kind of inside automation tools. So like developing EDMs or landing pages and that sort of stuff. So those are probably, and then I guess maybe life cycle marketing, which is kind of marketing. It's kind of a couple of those things stitched together. It's people say, like, you'll hear people talk about life cycle marketing, growth marketing, and product marketing. It's kind of like all three of those things are really kind of just a blend of kind of like email marketing, advertising, and content. So those are kind of the streams, I think.
And then do you break down, say, doing advertising or marketing on Facebook or Instagram or LinkedIn or TikTok? Do you break them down into their own subsections, or is that one field?
Yeah, so I guess for us, kind of how we approach like advertising, and I guess how we approach our business is more focused on specialization at an industry level, and then kind of, you know, we kind of work, and then we kind of have like, you know, advertising content, etc. So from a kind of advertising point of view, you know, our advertising team and our campaign managers inside our advertising team do advertising across Facebook, Instagram, search, TikTok, and it's all integrated, and like they'll manage the campaign, and it's more important that they understand the objectives of the client, that they understand the outcomes we're looking to drive in the campaign, and that they kind of have the industry wraparound. And I suppose that's like what we deliver for them, because, you know, most people who kind of join Social Garden, particularly in the advertising team, haven't had a whole lot of experience running campaigns in the property industry, for example.
So George, because most of the students that are listening to us haven't graduated yet, and they're really trying to get themselves ready to get their first graduate role, what are some of the things that graduates do in businesses, whether they be your customers or a digital agency? What are some of the things that they would do in their first job, and what should they be self-learning in order to get jobs? Yeah,
so I think, you know, I'll kind of talk to because we've kind of got what we call our Sprout program, which is effectively like it's a pathway kind of into the agency, and that's like an intern program that we run, which is super valuable. And we have kind of we run a kind of bit of a program around getting people into that every year. So kind of what we cover off inside Sprout, that's kind of like a 12-week internship kind of thing. We cover off like content, SEO, advertising, and kind of email marketing. And, you know, what we are looking for people to kind of join that program is people who are kind of obviously have the right attitude, as that's super important, but people who have got experience in writing, or kind of like, you know, kind of look at their own kind of social profiles. Like, are they kind of doing interesting stuff on their own kind of social media profiles? Or, you know, what other kind of skill sets do they have? Like, do they have basic HTML and CSS skills? Do they have basic Photoshop skills? So those types of skills are a massive head start for people wanting to kind of get into digital marketing in particular.
So it appears as though there's people who create the content, and perhaps there's people who deliver the content.
That's definitely a fair assessment. Yeah, Blake.
Okay. It sounds like, because in my experience, when I speak to marketing students that are looking for their first job, they're always talking about the strategy. My thought on that is that I could deliver a strategy for a company for 12 months in about a day.
Yeah.
But after then, I actually want people who are going to create the content and deliver it. And I think that's where the job's going to be more for graduates. Stop thinking about the strategy so much, and think about the creation and delivery. Would that be fair?
Yeah, well, I think the saying goes, culture eats strategy for breakfast, but in my opinion, execution eats strategy for breakfast. And it's about like execution is everything. Like that's one of our pillars inside Social Garden, right? Is like, you know, obviously strategy is super important, but people get transfixed on kind of this kind of Mad Men style kind of advertising role, where people are kind of just gallivanting around writing kind of strategies, and that's kind of not the real world.
Okay, so if you had to give us the top 3 or top 5, however many tops there are, software tools that undergraduates can learn right now while they're stuck at home, you know, doing what they're doing, what would they be?
Yeah, so they would be, I mean, like Google's an awesome place to start, like Google Analytics, and like playing around with Google Analytics, and you know, they have amazing kind of free like training and certifications even you can kind of do through Google. And some of you will say, oh well, like, you know, I kind of don't have a website, how am I? like you'll have someone in your network, whether it's a friend, a family member, someone who's got a website where you can kind of jump in and say, hey, I'm looking at kind of getting into Google Analytics. Can I kind of have a play around and kind of, I might be able to create some value for you. So I think like
Right.
Google Analytics, really good place to start.
Yep.
I think if you're kind of looking to get into if you're looking to get into kind of any digital role, like basic HTML and CSS is going to be really useful. So places like Code Academy, there's tons of places that kind of gamify kind of learning basic HTML and CSS, and it seems really daunting. I'm a super visual person, and I always studied kind of science. I always kind of studied arts, and kind of like I was really into writing growing up, but I fell in love with coding, and it's just about kind of finding the right way to kind of pick it up and learn it. So that's kind of another one.
And what about delivery tools such as the ones we use is Buffer and Hootsuite, things like that?
Yeah, awesome. Like what the next one I was going to say is MailChimp is like an awesome tool. Again, free tool, basic email marketing tool. If you can learn how to use the templates in tools like MailChimp, that's going to give you a massive advantage. Hootsuite's a really good tool. Again, I think you can get a free license for Hootsuite. That's a really, really great tool as well.
Just for people who don't know what Hootsuite does, can you explain what a Hootsuite and a Buffer does?
Yeah, so Hootsuite and Buffer are basically there's a few things that they do, but their core functionality is a publishing tool. So they'll publish your content to multiple kind of channels, whether it's LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, but they are also kind of what we call social listening tools. So you can aggregate kind of content that people are talking about that relates to your brand. So I'll use like an example of again, like say I'll use the social gardens example. So we might be interested in people talking about property marketing and education marketing and student recruitment, that type of stuff. So that's what those tools do.
And so if that's ones that deliver them, would the higher level of that be the big CRMs such as Salesforce, HubSpot, those type of things?
Yeah, totally. I mean, and Salesforce is awesome. I mean, like to me, kind of Salesforce. Again, if I was kind of in the position that these students that you guys are kind of in right now, I think Salesforce is got a lot of legs and there's a lot of growth kind of in that platform. So I think Salesforce, and Salesforce have an awesome training program called Trailhead, again, which is free, which is really interactive, and you get badges, and I've done an amazing job of it. So I'd say Salesforce is an amazing place, and it's very expensive software. So companies are investing a lot of money into it. So the idea that a grad can kind of come in and extract value from the kind of OpEx outlay that they've kind of already made in the software is a massive kind of advantage for you as a grad. So Salesforce, sorry.
I was going to say, I met a graduate recently who did what would be considered the first level of certification. And it took them 60 hours to do, I think, something like 13 modules. However, after, I think the person was there for only 6 months, they were getting close to $80,000 in their next role, because this software, which costs large companies a lot of money, they can't get enough people that know how to use it. And that was a wonderful pathway for that person into getting a really good job at a really high rate.
Yeah, and you can piggyback your success kind of off the back of those big softwares. It's like in Social Garden, we piggyback the success of Facebook, right? It's like we've been the best at Facebook advertising across the industries that we're in. And it's like the rise of Facebook is what we've kind of risen with Facebook. And it's like often, we kind of refer to ourselves as like the teeth of kind of the crocodile that is kind of Facebook, like just snapping up market share,
Yeah, there was a question earlier, I think it was from Mercedes, and she asked, how do you introduce in an interview the fact that you know these other things? Does it become confusing? what would you say to?
Yeah, that's a great question. Because I mean, like for us, we kind of go looking for them. But I suppose, perhaps, it starts with understanding the culture of the company that you're going to, and kind of looking at other people who are working in that company, getting a feel for, like, going on their about page, getting some of their content, and getting a feel for, like, what are the things that are important to them, and then trying to link it into what they talk about on their website or their existing stuff is kind of maybe a way that you could do that.
Okay, because I was thinking, George, that if someone was actually able to get in front of you, because you're a busy person, and I'm sure lots of people want to get an interview with you. I mean, I don't think that you would hold it against anyone if they just started blurting out, and listen, I just want to let you know that I've also know this and this and this and this. I think I would be saying to people, don't be scared. You only get one chance. Don't worry about it. It's confusing.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think I mentioned this when we were chatting the other day, is like, it baffles me still, like when we put job ad outs, the few phone calls we get. Right. And it's like, if you're making the effort to make a phone call and you're persistent and you like make an effort to get whoever it is who's hiring on the phone, your chance of getting, you're definitely going to be able to get that person on the phone 100%, because if you want it to happen, it'll happen. Yeah. And B, it's like, if you get them on the phone, like, your chances of getting an interview are through the roof, right? And I think, and that's like, we're talking about graduates here, but I see that at every level, where it's like people kind of just think the same thing's going to work. And I kind of had that advice pretty early in my career, that it's like, it's like you're competing with, if you're competing with everyone else who are doing the same thing, it's like, how can you make it different? Like, do something different. Hey, maybe it's going to be uncomfortable. Maybe you're going to feel a bit uncomfortable about it, but like, who cares? It's like, what have you got to lose? It's like, you're the only one and the person who's doing the hiring that even know about it. So it's like, you've got nothing to be ashamed of. Just kind of go for it.
Great. So therefore, for Mercedes, don't worry about it. You're better to have asked and not to have asked at all. There was another question from Greg, who says, for someone who wants to get involved in content creation, but is worried that the quality of what they create is not good enough, what advice would you give them?
Yeah, I mean, I think, again, it's kind of about the idea and kind of the content itself more so than the quality. I mean, like, for context, and this, again, like for universities, right? It's like some of the best performing creative is the lowest quality creative, because it feels organic, right? Mm-hmm. So it's like this whole idea of like the polished TVC and like the polished video is like, that's kind of ancient history, in my opinion. It's like, and I'm talking about what actually works at an ad level and what people actually click on, engage in, and end up inquiring, and kind of the customer obviously making money through that process, is like the raw organic content. So I would say, don't worry too much about that. But I guess in the same breath, I would say, there are amazing tools out there that you can, and like, if you've got a smartphone, which I'm assuming most of you do, you can, whether it's kind of getting a tripod if you're kind of filming content, whether it's kind of getting a clip on, like, for $50 you can get a pretty good setup on your phone, and that's kind of all you need. And then it's just like, get it working how you want it to feel. Like, edit it, don't play around with it, edit it, and just like, optimize it.
It's interesting, and I say this all the time, whenever I get a web developer come and interview with me, the first thing I do is actually just push them my computer and say, you're a web developer? Good, show me. And I get people saying, oh no, I don't have anything on the web. Mate, next please. So I suppose part of the thing is just do anything. Anything is better than nothing, just to show that this is what you do.
Absolutely.
What advice, this is another question from Timmy, what advice would you give for copywriters, people who want to get copywriting?
Yeah, awesome. What advice I would give for copywriters, again, is like, if you're kind of trying to get into an agency, say it's kind of Social Garden, go onto the website, look at kind of the clients that they're kind of already working with. Go on, there's a really cool tool, and it's like a Facebook link. Basically, there's a link you can use to see all of the ads that are currently running for a particular brand. So any Facebook page that's running ads, you can basically see a gallery of all of their live ads. So what I do is go look at kind of, say on our website, you come and you see we're working with Mirvac, look at kind of all the ads we're running for Mirvac, study those, get a feel, and then start writing your own ads and just start practicing your own ads and kind of look for kind of consistent, like we obviously have a formula that we use that works, right? So it's like, look for the consistency in our creative and others' creative, and then kind of reinterpret that and kind of practice and write your own copy. Like if you're coming into if you're applying for a job with me and part of your pitch is like, oh, I see you work with Lendlease, I wanted to kind of articulate my copywriting skills, and you attach a doc of half a dozen Facebook ads for a Lendlease project, again, like the likelihood that you're getting an interview is extremely high.
So that's opposed to just sending out 100 applications to marketing jobs. Perhaps target one where you create some content and send that in to try and differentiate yourself.
Totally. And I think with copywriting, like one of the things I've kind of learned with copywriting over the years is like copywriting is like all around us, right? And it's like, you've got copywriting and your emails, copywriting and your own social media activity. It's like, so it's just kind of really thinking about just having purposeful writing. Obviously a tight brief is what's going to enable you to be able to showcase your work. So either like just get someone else to come up with a brief for you, or like I said, just go and kind of find a brand and write some ads for them. And like, don't choose Coca-Cola, it's like choose stuff that isn't like the sexy brand, like do it for the unsexy stuff. Cause it's like, that's what you're going to be writing copy for as a junior copywriter.
And George, like LeBron James didn't become one of the best shooters in the NBA by coincidence. He has shots every single day. And I think writing is a similar thing and communication is a similar thing. Practice. And I'm sure that if you look back on your first bit of copy you ever did, George, you're probably passionately embarrassed by it. But
absolutely.
Any other profession that we cover, practice, practice, practice. You have to practice this stuff.
Yep.
Yeah.
There's a really good question by someone called Dominic, who says, see, I'm the funny one. Is promoting your own brand in digital important? I find it fascinating that people are into marketing and digital and whatever, yet they don't blog about things themselves, what they're interested in. And like, I don't know about you, but I would definitely be looking at what a marketing person is doing about their own brand in marketing before I would hire them.
Yeah. And I mean, like you mentioned kind of the web development example before, right? Where it's like your CV as a web developer is your website, right? So it's kind of it's certainly is the same thing. I think, as businesses kind of evolve, it's like, your strength sometimes can become a weakness and a blind spot, because that's kind of so second nature to you that you kind of stop prioritizing that as much. And I think,
can you give us an example of someone that you've seen lately that you went and did a little bit of your own investigation about them and found some really cool stuff that made you say, yep, I want this person to work for me?
Yeah. It's probably more like, I kind of get things in my inbox every day. Like I can use kind of an example of someone who kind of contacted me today, super personalized, sharp email. It actually came through our careers email. Super sharp, personalized email, just short, and they were an animator, and like they basically just pulled out kind of one of the animations that they had done, and were basically like, hey, I did this animation for, it was like some library, like something to do with school libraries or something. Did this animation for school library. I see that you work in the education industry. Thought it might be relevant. Would love to chat to you about kind of animation. So I mean, that was kind of where it was like clearly personalized to us, and taking the time to read it. And it was just like short and informal. So that's probably an example from today.
I have this feeling that anyone, no matter what your background, can get into marketing. And all the stuff that you've talked about today, I haven't heard you once say, I'm looking for someone that has a master's of marketing or has done an advanced diploma in marketing. It's almost like it's not relevant because you're looking for all these other skill sets that they bring, or that the self-learning they've done, or this person's done animation. This person's not saying, here's my certificate, here's an animation that I've created. So people can study whatever they have in the background. If they're interested in marketing, they can get into marketing. I just want to explore that maybe a bit further with you, because I'm pretty sure you feel the same way, that it doesn't matter what you've studied, marketing can be a profession for anyone.
Totally. And again, it's like, I kind of mentioned like copy is kind of all around us, particularly for like, you know, the generations kind of coming through now with whether it's TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. It's like people are like, you know, creating content all the time. And, you know, I mean, like what we look for is like, the first thing we're kind of interested, like I've kind of talked to some of the things we look for is like, you know, hidden talent and the types, like attitude is just so important for us. It's like digital moves so quickly. So it's like one of our key pillars is mentorship, right? And it's like the tagline that goes with that is everyone's a student and a teacher. And it's like this whole idea that like we're learning from our clients are learning from us. I'm learning from our most junior staff member as they are from me. Like everyone's got to give, but you need to be able to absorb the information and like be into it, you know. And you know, our Slack channel is like just a plethora of content, people sharing ideas and content and stuff. So I think attitude is super important, and your willingness to kind of learn and kind of just go out there and do it. I think, you know, what university you went to and all that kind of stuff is like, that's not what we're looking for, you know, like that kind of, if you went to university, like it's, you know, that's kind of not what it's about. It's about the things that I've kind of spoken about today.
And how do you rate MBAs? There's a great question here about if someone had an MBA in digital marketing, how would you rate it? Or is it relevant? Or do you want it's just got talent?
Honestly, it's kind of just like moot point to me, really. It's like, it's kind of just like, it doesn't really matter. Ultimately, what matters is kind of, again, their attitude, their ability, their willingness to learn, and kind of their tactical, practical skills today. And it's like, you know, what like they teach in kind of an MBA, like it's kind of your strategy call before, right? It's like, I don't know if I agree with what people are studying with doing an MBA in marketing. And to me, it kind of, I think it's not a great.
And what about perfect English? Because a lot of the students that we deal with don't have perfect English. So there's someone here that asked, you know, if I know how to use all the tools such as Salesforce, HubSpot, Buffer, does it matter if I don't have perfect English?
Definitely not. And I think like we kind of talked about like the hidden talent thing before, and like to me, a hidden talent's like multiple languages. It's like, you know, that's an amazing talent if like, you know, English your second language and like you're like talk, you know, and again, like for us, we've got a bunch of people in our business who English is a second language for. And again, I think it's just owning that, you know, really kind of own it, because I think that's part of what kind of makes you different and what makes you kind of appealing. And like, you know, again, you're going to kind of jump to conclusions, and you're always going to have this kind of doubt in the back of your mind if kind of English is your second language. But it's like, just try to be confident, back yourself, and like let your skills do the talking, and focus on the fact that kind of you know all these kind of things that I'm talking about, and focus on kind of how you can kind of bring something to the culture of the company that you're applying to work for as well. Because I think that's, again, like, you know, it kind of depends on the company, but like, you know, diversity is so important in terms of like fostering good ideas, right? It's like, if we just have the same people thinking about this in the same way, it's like we're going to get the same ideas. So,
and remembering that a lot of companies, their target market are internationals.
Exactly.
Who are new to the country. So therefore it fits in well. There's a great question here from Vi. Hopefully I've pronounced that correctly. Is it in a startup organization and you've got a mobile app, what type of automation tools would you recommend they start with?
Yeah. So, and what was that? I've got sorry, just repeat the question.
They've got a mobile app in a startup. Yep. What's some base level automation tools that you suggest they start with?
So they've got their own mobile app, just so I understand this. Yeah, cool. So obviously starting with basic kind of analytics. So again, there's like for an app, there's a really good tool called App Annie. So I just want to, hopefully I'm getting this question right. There's a tool called kind of App Annie. App Annie, which is like an analytics tool. Again, I'm pretty sure there's a free tool. If you're in a mobile app, learning, it's App Annie, like ANNIE, just FYI. There's your
accent, unfortunately.
Yeah. there's this big kind of trend in analytics, which is kind of this movement to something called event-based tracking. And there's a tool called Segment, which means you can kind of track a whole lot of things on what's called the event stream versus the click stream. I'm not going to go into a whole lot of detail around what that is, but if you kind of start looking into kind of Segment and what that tool does, again, I've got a free version, awesome place. Like if you can be walking into any kind of product startup and being like, I know how to use Segment, like you're looking really good. Outside of that, I mean, like run some Facebook ads if you can afford spare $20 and do some install ads and have a bit of fun with it. And like, you know, if you can kind of try to figure out how to generate a really cheap install, like again, that's kind of a really good, like Facebook ads and just like app installs is an awesome place to start. So those are kind of a few things you can,
George,
you can think about.
Most of the times you've mentioned software, you've followed up with it's free. And this is the world that we live in now, right? Where there is free versions of nearly every bit of software. And there's never been a better time to self-learn this stuff because it doesn't cost you anything. And even you mentioned, can you spare $20 on Facebook ads? I look at anyone that wants to get into digital marketing and Facebook marketing. I believe there's not an excuse at all for why they haven't spent $20 trying to market a product. Like you could go and buy some pens and go and create a website. So to design your own website on WordPress or Square, whatever it is, to resell pens, run a Facebook marketing campaign on it, go and use some of that other free software. And all of a sudden, you've used all the stuff that you've just said. So for anyone listening, there's actually no excuse to not start playing with this stuff because it costs you nothing. And we live in a world where it's never been easier. Would you agree?
Or like, you know, you kind of talk to pens, and I think people always kind of start with products. It's like, or like services. It's like, whether it's painting, whether it's like, I don't know what it's doing, whether it's like whatever, you can painting a house, mowing someone's lawns. It's like you can do localized targeting people in a postcode, right, on Google. So it's like market yourself that way. So I mean, like there's tons of opportunity to kind of do interesting stuff and not spend a whole lot of money to do it. It's like, you know, sure, you might have like a logo of a software kind of on your emails or a badge or something like that, but like who cares if it's not kind of super commercial.
Well, I'll rapid fire a few quick questions. So we'll just get very quick answers to these. Number one, are website building things like Squarespace, Wix, and whatever relevant, better than the old WordPress?
I still think WordPress is a better path to go down. I think Shopify and WordPress are the way to go. Useful to have skills in Wix and Squarespace, but like the market's share is so much smaller than WordPress and Shopify. So you're kind of limiting your addressable market by learning those two tools.
Great stuff. Next one is, how do you follow up a phone call after you've sent in an application? I mean, my thought quickly on that is that when you call, you better have something good to say. Don't just ring up and say, I'm just following up on my application.
Yeah. I would just follow up and introduce myself and like make it about them. Everyone wants to hear about them, right? It's like, talk about them, talk about why you think you're a good fit for their company, their culture. Like, make it about them and like get them kind of talking is what I would say.
Okay, good.
Which means if you haven't done your research, don't bother.
That's right.
Correct.
Don't just follow up. You've got to have something to offer. Lack of experience. So do you rate experience more than skills? Which would you prefer?
Good question. I
mean, hand in hand, right?
Yeah, I kind of with experience kind of comes skills. With skills kind of comes experience. But I mean, like, you know, That's a tough one. I mean, like you got to be passionate about what you're learning, and you got to be able to kind of apply yourself to be able to create value. And that kind of comes from skills, and experience is just going to help you sharpen your skills over time. But, I prefer someone who's like rapid fire, like learnt stuff and can apply it in a short period of time, than someone who's been like slaving away at it for 3 years and kind of knows a bit about it.
Right. Okay.
That answers that
and you've mentioned, I think I've typed out the word attitude about 10 times because you've mentioned it that many times.
Yeah.
It's all about attitude.
Totally.
So, and just highlight what you've done and be proud of whatever you've done. AI, is there much room for AI in marketing? Is that going to be the next big thing?
Yeah, that's going to be the next big thing for sure. There's a lot of people talking about it right now, not that many people executing it. We're super excited. We've got heaps of opportunities to apply AI kind of in our business. We've done a little bit of it, but like we're very much kind of scratched the surface. But heaps of opportunity there. And if you can be learning AI, you're setting yourself up to be very successful.
And this goes back to what Jared was saying earlier, that really any skill set you can apply to marketing if you know how to apply it. So if you are studying AI, and you want to apply it in marketing, go and figure out how you would do it, and perhaps come and have a chat with you, George.
Totally.
Yeah.
Welcome.
Cool. 3:05, Jared. How are we going in time?
I don't know how many questions you're going to fire off, Dom.
Just about 2 more now.
Yeah, but we will wrap it up because we have run out of time as per usual. I must admit, I've written down attitude and put a big box around it as well, because George, every webinar we've had, the guest speaker has always said pretty much the same as you, is that they care about attitude more than anything else. Can you come and have a positive experience with us, and can you add value? Are you willing to learn? Will you be enthusiastic? Because businesses like your business, you're happy to teach people. As long as they've got the attitude there that they want to learn, you'll invest in them, no problem. But having that attitude is just super important. I just quickly want to mention about some of the software. Google Analytics, knowing HTML and CSS. I actually never thought about that from a marketing, how knowing HTML and CSS is an advantage. I have seen that now actually in business when I'm talking to our marketing guys, and how knowing HTML and CSS can be such an advantage. So again, it's not hard to learn. There's lots of courses to go and learn basic HTML and CSS. MailChimp, we use MailChimp. It's brilliant. Being able to do campaigns, again, it's free to go and learn. Talked about Hootsuite. I just want to touch on Salesforce and HubSpot. They are two of the most popular CRMs. George, I know you've said to me in the past that Salesforce is generally the top end of town, the guys that are millions of dollars, but HubSpot is more the popular CRM for SMEs. And there's far, far more SMEs than there are in a big end of town. And so there's far more businesses that need help with HubSpot. So I'm assuming, George, that would actually be a software that would be probably highly recommended to go and learn. They have the same training sort of portal that Salesforce has, but there must be truckloads of businesses out there that have gone down the HubSpot path and don't have staff that know how to use it. Yeah,
definitely. Again, HubSpot, awesome tool. Another one that's quite popular is Pipedrive as well. Not as much kind of training material on that, but HubSpot, another good, awesome tool.
Fantastic. So thank you everyone for joining. I hope that has added value. I think there's no excuses. If anyone listening wants to have a career related to marketing or automation, there is no excuse for you not upskilling yourself. That if you happen to end up in an interview with George or someone like George at any business, that you cannot impress them with all the extra things that you've done, because it's free and it's just a matter of putting the effort in. And it's a matter of finding the time to do it. But important.
And that answers Tarzan's question about, how do we differentiate ourselves if we don't have experience? Self-study. Send in examples of your work. There's no excuses.
That's the last 35 minutes of this discussion, Tarzan. That is what you need to do. And it's not hard.
Totally.
You just got to put the effort in. So, George, thank you so much. I know you guys are busy.
You're welcome, guys. Hopefully that's kind of helped. If you've got any follow-up questions, just hit me up, and I'll be here to kind of answer them.
Yeah, and just remember, he has just said you can hit him up. So we know for well only one or two people will. but the ones that do will get a response. So
How much do we love Study New South Wales?
they are doing a fantastic job.
Thank you, Study New South Wales.
They are fantastic. We just love them. We love them. What can I say? We love them.
Thank you, everyone. Stay safe.
Thanks, guys. Good stuff.
Thanks very much.
Thank you. See you, everyone.